Alec, welcome to Halloween Daily. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Nice to meet you.
It's great to meet you. Obviously, we are huge fans of so much of your work, and you're always involved and have been involved in so many awesome projects and things that we're into. Um, let's start though with what's happening this week as we're recording this. You're hosting an upcoming episode of Shout TV's Double Take, where they do these double features and have different known figures in the community introducing them. Can you tell us? I know this is going to be celebrating Roger Corman, who you've worked with. Tell us what films and why they were selected, if you could.
Well, the films that I talk about in this one are Battle Beyond the Stars and Galaxy of Terror. And the reason that I chose those two films are that they are the first two Roger Corman films I worked on, but also the first two films in my filmography. I started my career on Battle Beyond the Stars. In fact, I found recently as I was cleaning out the garage, I found a check stub from my very first week, and it was in 1979, which blew my mind.
That is unbelievable. So you're going to be hosting these films and just sharing stories, I guess, from the set memories as they're airing. Is that how it's going to work?
Yeah, it's sort of an interview format, and
Okay,
I'm not sure how if they'll be cutting into me or if I just introduce them. I can't
and that'd
remember.
be
I felt like I gabbed a lot, so they have a lot of information that they can choose to show, or maybe it ends up on the cutting room floor.
awesome. And of course, you said those were at the very beginning of your career and working with Corman, and he's such a legendary just figure and influential figure in not just in horror, but just in film. Um, what is something that you learned from those first two films and from working with Corman directly that you've carried with you ever since?
Well, as you can imagine, I was 19 years old when I started. So all of my experience was making Super 8 films with my friends. And this felt almost like a logical extension of that because you didn't have a lot of resources to work with. Um, and you became friends with everyone that was there because we were all in the same boat. We were all the joke was you're either on your way up or on your way down when you work for Roger. And
Right.
we were on our way up. I worked with people like Robert and Dennis Skotak, who were the miniature tabletop geniuses who went on to win multiple Oscars for Alien and I think The Abyss. And those guys were my visual effects mentors. A guy named Pat McClung, who had worked on a couple of the Star Wars movies, but was a young guy. He taught me a ton about model building, and of course James Cameron was there. He went up from there. Um, Gail Ann Hurd was around there, and I got to meet Rob Bottin. I never worked with him, but they were shooting Humanoids of the Deep at that time,
Oh, at the same time.
and I got to that was my first opportunity to see like high level rubber monster suits. So it was a really it was a great experience and a great learning experience, and unlike anything that I think might be available now to young you know people getting into the industry.
That's a good point. I mean, there's so many opportunities as far as like the technology, and everybody's got a camera on their phone, and there's internet. But like you said, there's not that kind of academy of like a Corman Academy of where you can really get that training and those experiences that I mean, as you're describing and listening to everybody there, and I mean, what a set to be on and to be neighbors with. I mean, just what a time. Um, you've worked on so many projects, and I was sitting here, which ones can do we have time to hit on and get a few little. But I would love any stories from, and again, this is going very early on in your career, but a little movie, one of my favorites, 1986, the heavy metal Halloween horror movie Trick or Treat. It was actually shot here in North Carolina, where we're based too.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, Well, that was a blast because my good buddy Kevin Yeager did the effects on it, the makeup effects and the monsters and so on. I had just come off of Aliens, so I had been working for Stan Winston, and I had been to London, Pinewood Studios. We did Aliens, and that I'm not sure if the movie had come out by the time I took the job on Trick or Treat, but Stan was exhausted, so he was like, taking time off. So I thought, well, I don't want to take time off. That sounds boring. Um, so Kevin offered me a job, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds like it'd be a blast. So we worked our butts off on Trick or Treat, and I went to set in beautiful Wilmington. And by the way, I spent summers in North Carolina as a kid because my grandmother and my mother grew up in Aberdeen, North Carolina, which
Okay.
is kind of in the sand hills.
Yep.
And so I used to, walk barefoot like a little Southern boy for about 5 summers in my formative years. So I love North Carolina. So it's
Awesome.
great to be back out there again. And I was doing applications. Kevin would go back to LA to continue working on Skeezix and some of the other effects that he was doing. And I was doing makeup effects on I've loved Tony. Was it what's his name?
Yes, Tony Field, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and which was really fun for me because I had not done much like daily applications of makeup
Hmm.
at that point. So it was really nice to sort of like embrace that grind, because it is a grind. It's a
Sure.
term discipline. But it was a blast. Me and Kevin just had a great time in Wilmington, and we were just like, wild, just having fun and being, 26 years old and all that kind of stuff.
Well, like I said, that's a personal favorite of mine, and obviously, we love the North Carolina connection too, and everything. Um, when you have worked on so many of these creatures and characters, is there one or even a few that you could isolate as a favorite, or maybe a personal triumph that you can say you're especially proud of?
Well, let's see. For me, a lot of it, my favorite monsters, it's heavily influenced by my experience of
Hmm.
filmmaking. Because
Sure.
part of what I love about this job, and its creature effects specifically, I
Hmm.
don't think I would love being a exclusively visual effects artist all that much.
Hmm.
Um, but being in the creature effects department and being the head of a creature effects department, it's an adventure, and you have a team of people, and you design and build your stuff together, and then you're exhausted by the time the movie starts shooting. So then you have to pack everything up, take it off to location. But it's like in a weird way. I always think of it as like you're going into battle.
Yeah.
You don't know how it's going to work out, but you've built all your equipment and your weapons, and you're
Hmm.
going in to fight the good fight. And of course, you have no enemies other than schedule and you know resources and maybe the odd producer here or there. Um, but
All of which can be daunting.
that can be daunting. But so like the relationships with the people. So I had a great. I don't want to leave anybody out because I've had such good luck with filmmakers and producers. But the Tremors folks are the nicest people on the planet, and that was a beautiful experience. Um, you know, the original Jumanji with Joe
Yes.
Johnston at the helm, and Larry Franco was a producer. Larry Franco was John Carpenter's producer on a lot of those movies. Larry Franco was the guy who's hanging out of the helicopter at the beginning of The Thing, shooting at the dog. That's
That's right.
Larry, and
Yeah,
and
that's
so
right.
so I could ask him questions like you're asking me, and those were great experiences. I'm just looking around at some of my stuff. Oh, the Alien movies, Aliens, working with Stan Winston. Um, Pumpkinhead, Stan's first
Yeah.
directorial debut. What a great mentor that guy was, and teaching me how to enjoy your work and not just get all wrapped up in the stress and the tension and not turn your insecurities outward and start,
Hmm.
attacking the people around you, but having fun. Let me tell you a little quick Stan Winston story about
Please.
Pumpkinhead. We had the scene where Shane Mayhem, who now runs Legacy Studios, right? He had sculpted and done this beautiful makeup of Haggis the Witch, and we were on set, and I had assisted him in the application of it, his makeup. And so we've got the actress, and she's there, and they go, okay, now turn on. We put some KY jelly on her face to give her just enough skin like shine, looked really nice. Turn on the fireplace. It's a big gas fireplace, roaring fire. Immediately dries it up, and it looked like Play-Doh or something. It looked terrible. So we're like, oh my God, going back and in between takes, trying to freshen up the KY and clean off the old KY. And we were really stressing out. And I remember hearing Stan say, Alec. And I thought, oh, God, he's pissed off because it looks so dry. He's going to tell me what I already know. I can see it, right? And I look across the room, and there's Stan, and he's looking, and he's going like this, and like that, and I just burst out laughing, and I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, the lesson here is the director is having a blast. Everything's fine. You're
Hmm.
gonna make it through this. You don't need to let your cortisol levels go sky high. So I'm very grateful for Stan for that, because anytime, all of the movies I worked with Stan on, Leviathan, Monster Squad, The Predator, the original Predator, Aliens, Alien Nation. He was just terrific. So I'm very lucky. It's hard for me to say which one was like. If you ask me about design, I
Hmm.
do have a soft spot in my heart for the Tremors graboids, because I
Oh
kind of
yeah.
feel like that was more of me than any other creature maybe that I've done. So that was a good one.
Awesome. Well, I love all of them, but for our last few minutes here, I know you're super busy today, but we always try to talk a little bit about the Halloween holiday, if we can, if you'll indulge us. And I don't know, I've got an idea that you were probably into Halloween growing up. I mean, just imagining where your life would lead not too long. Is that something that you were into as a kid? Monsters and just the Halloween of it all, or
Yeah, I mean, my interest in monsters started probably at about age 9. Like a lot of
okay.
us, when your
Hmm.
dad or you have an uncle that shows you something that he's not supposed to show you or whatever. So I got to see a lot of movies that are probably pretty tame by today's standards, but I did love all the monster movies. And for Halloween, I started when I kind of started teaching myself makeup. I would do like a Planet of the Apes makeup and wear that. And,
Hmm.
I did a cone head when in the 70s when that was
Hmm.
popular. Um, and what I loved was that, you put this makeup on and you become another person. It's sort of freeing, right?
Yeah.
And you've also made it. It's not just a store-bought thing that anybody can do. You are displaying your talents and, bringing your gift to other people. But it reached a peak for me probably when I was in the industry, where I was every year there'd be a big Halloween party. You go to
Hmm.
Steve Johnson's or Rick Baker's, or Greg Canham would always have a great Halloween party, and it became almost like everybody was pursuing their job search. So it was an extension of your portfolio. So everybody was going nuts and trying to outdo each other. And I remember applying some application to my face, and I just was like, I'm miserable. I hate this. So after that point, I started doing the laziest Halloween makeups that I possibly could. I think my laziest Halloween makeup was just a few years ago when I did Eugene Levy from Schitt's Creek, and I got a suit and I painted my eyebrows like him, and I just make an expression and talk like that. That's it. And that way, I don't have to I can drink my cocktail.
Hmm.
I can. I don't. My face isn't stuck to the pillow the next morning. But I did do a lot of big things in my old neighborhood. I did do haunted houses for the kids. We did we did a movie one year with the kids. You know, my friend Shannon Shea uh, and I did a 3D painted maze, you know, where you wear glasses and
Yeah.
3D paintings pop out and stuff, along with characters inside. So I have had a lot of fun with that, but these days I'm not big into the holiday
Yeah.
that much. It's a little disappointing. I also like you see all around me. I have lots and lots of stuff in my room, you know, here that I've
Love it.
worked on. Um,
Hmm.
but I don't have any of that stuff at my home, so I'm not a collector. I don't surround myself with it. I kind
Hmm.
of like it's always in here, and
Yeah.
that's fine with me.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, again, we're huge fans and everything that you work on. And we can't thank you enough
Well, I
for
appreciate it.
taking the
Can I
time.
pitch
Sure.
something right
Yeah.
now? Uh,
Sure.
I have a movie out now that we developed in house. We produced it, and
Yeah.
it's a very modest budget movie. It's called Wellwood, and it's a sort of a horror sci-fi movie with a lot of emotion to it. And so I'm going to tell your listeners, your viewers, they can get it on Amazon, Apple, Vudu, Microsoft. What the heck is that? But it has lots of practical effects in it, and I
Okay.
want you all to watch it because it was like my team here did the effects. We had to do it Roger Corman style, you know. And this is I have a love of low budget movies. I'll work on the big movies, but the low budget movies are near and dear to my heart because you don't have a lot of resources. You have to be clever, and you really like form a bond with the people because there's only a handful of you making the movie. So
Yeah.
everybody has to support and lift each other up. But anyway, it's called Wellwood. Please check it out. Follow me on Instagram, Alec_Gillis, and you can get more information about that. Plus, all of my decades of monsters are on that Instagram as well.
Absolutely. Definitely will. We do follow you, and I'm sure all of our viewers will too, and we'll definitely be checking out that film as well. Again, we can't thank you enough, and we always hate saying goodbye, but every day's Halloween, so instead, I'm just going to say Happy
Awesome.
Halloween.
Love it. Happy Halloween to you too, Matt. Thank you.